idea and they try to jump ahead to writing copy, right? To quote, I think you wrote this, you invented this, quote, ordinary words can make an extraordinary idea work. Extraordinary words will not make ordinary ideas work. And you see that sometimes with people, they think, like, okay, I get it. I'm going to turn like dividend stocks into magic income streams. I'm just going to take dividend stocks. Every time I'm talking about dividend stocks, I'm just going to give it a different name I call magic income streams, which is, okay, it's kind of interesting. So tell me more about these magic income streams. Like what kind of dividends? Like, and what makes them special? And who else is using them? And the person pitching me will be like, I don't know yet. It's because they don't have an extraordinary idea yet. They just have an ordinary idea, and they're trying to jump ahead again and try to write copy without figuring out what the idea even is. So you need to figure out your idea before you write the copy. A couple of hints. Your extraordinary idea should generate a ton of fascinations. I would also add actually to that your extraordinary idea should generate a ton of objections. Right? We'll get into that more on like copyboarding, but if the biggest objection I have to your idea is that I don't give a shit because it's boring, big problem, right? If my biggest objection is that really true? Can I really make that money doing that? That's a good objection for someone to have. That means they want to believe it. It should include powerful social proof and authority if you have it. Like I'm just using, these are kind of like the pieces and parts I've noticed worked in financial offers in the past. It should include a magic mechanism to achieve whatever your promised result is. And it should highlight some sort of apparent incongruence, meaning something that seems new and different, or something maybe that shouldn't even exist. Any questions?
Let's do this again with, and I'll cover the one that I came up with the idea just because I know it the most. Ordinary idea, selling naked put options. The extraordinary idea is that I'm going to walk around the streets of Baltimore and get people whom I've never met to sell put options in my own stock market account because I know it's that safe, that I'm going to let complete strangers take over my own stock market account. I'm going to teach them how to do it, and in less than 3 minutes, they're going to walk away with an instant income payment that they've generated for me. So whatever they generate for me, I'm going to give half the money to them, and I'm going to keep half the money since it was in my account. Like, that's the extraordinary idea. The expression of that extraordinary idea is the headline complex that you guys see on that third page, which is live from the streets of Baltimore, our outrageous social experiment. Watch as we show 3 complete strangers. So that 3-part process, take an ordinary idea, turn it into something extraordinary, and then express that extraordinary through a headline complex, and we'll cover headlines in the next couple sessions. That is the best 3-part series I've ever seen for trying to find out how to make an extraordinary idea that works its way into copy. Questions on that? Again, this is big. We're going to spend all next session on this too, generally next session on this, because this is the most important thing we could do. Oh, real quick, before we get to you, Manny. How many people were on yesterday's copy call, Tuesday's copy call? Okay, almost everybody, right? The ordinary idea, and I was trying to make this a point yesterday because I wanted to set it up for today. So you guys are going to hear me repeat myself if you were on that call. The ordinary idea behind yesterday's call was simply buying small stocks. That was the ordinary idea yesterday. The extraordinary idea was whatever the writer, and I'm going to mess it up, but I'm going to try to get the general brushstrokes correct, was something called D shares that are hidden in a small, obscure section of the United States tax law or whatever it might have been, that brokers can't touch these things, therefore they're not telling you about them, but you can use these D shares to make an extraordinary amount of money by playing the same trends of the big blue chip companies. All it is buying small stocks that operate in the same industry as the big stocks. So instead of buying Amazon, you could buy some new small startup online retailer that can make you 10 times the gains if that works out. So you have ordinary, buying small stocks. You have extraordinary, which is that we found some hidden loophole in the code system that allows you to make money from the smallest stocks in the market that the brokers won't tell you about. And then the expression of that was the headline that you guys saw yesterday. So that 3-step process can be repeated almost every single time. Manny.
My question is, I've noticed a lot of back end is like system-based stuff.
Yep.
Right? So like you already have the authority figure and whatever's going on.
Yep.
But what about funding? Like, I still haven't seen any consistency with that.
Yeah, front ends are going to be more like paradigm shifting worldview ideas. Back ends, you're totally right. And again, I'm going to answer this in 20 seconds, and then we're going to spend probably an hour on it later in copy camp. But my 20-second answer is you're totally right that back ends are normally more system driven based on the personality that they already have the relationship with, normally. Front ends are more world shifting, world validating ideas. You normally bring the political type of ideas more so on the front end, the total economy type of stuff into the front end. The back end's, how do I make a whole bunch of money quickly based on this authority figure that I already trust? Normally. Judd.
I had one question with that call yesterday morning, the B shares. And this goes along with the whole concept of magic and all that. How do you deal with that and get through legal?
Yep. Save that question too, because we have a whole compliance session that's going to be much later. Don't worry about legal compliance at this point. Come up with the ideas that you want to market. Again, because you mean that's a real idea, it's not a lie. So as long as it's not a lie, don't worry about anything else at this point. You don't want lies, you can filter those out, right? But as long as you have an idea that you believe in, think about it in the most aggressive way right now. Don't try to write to satisfy someone in legal, because it'll ruin the idea. We'll cover how to deal with legal. I think it's like session 13, 14, 15, whatever it might be. It's much towards the end of copy camp when we get into actual production of promos and stuff like that. So ask that again later.
Cool.
But for right now, just come up with the ideas that you find most aggressive, as long as they're truthful.
Okay.
So to Manny's point, do you find that this formula and everything we've really discussed today, is it more prevalent on the back end versus the front end,
Nope.
or does it apply equally?
You need a big idea in every promotion, no matter if it's on the front end or back end. The type of idea might be different, right? Again, like a system around a trusted authority figure is a different type of idea than a new mechanism for why the United States dollar is going to collapse from someone you don't know yet, like a authority figure you don't know yet. All of them need to have big ideas. Every single promotion, back end, front end. I would even say renewals. We'll save that for later. You don't want to put renewals in here. Any promotion that's meant to get someone to take their wallet out, to get Grandpa Kirk to take their wallet out and to hand you that credit card needs to have a big idea to work. No matter if that's someone who is already on our files, someone's on Facebook and doesn't know who we are, and we find them through an advertisement, everything's going to have a big idea. The type of idea might be different, and we'll get into that.
The type of idea and how you express it as well. Like, we'll get into that. Like, the lead of a front end is probably going to look different from the back end. But actually, on the copy call yesterday, that original idea was a back end idea that actually turned to a front end.
Just work better that way.
Yeah, but they had to change the copy quite a bit to make that work as well, because the way you express an idea to a stranger is a lot different than you would to an existing customer or a friend. You'd be a lot more
Do you,
direct.
when you have a big idea, at what point during the process of writing a copy do you discern, okay, I have to write it for the back end, or I should lighten it up for the front end, or do you make two versions of it, or do you just go as aggressive as possible?
We'll get into this later. Like I can share like the process I do internally here at Agora Financial. Once you have a big idea, you want to pitch it to as many people as possible, including the publishers, and start thinking about the product pretty early in the process, because if you can't fulfill it, if there's not a front end or back end that we can either launch or already exists, then the chances of your idea actually moving forward are going to be pretty slim. It might be halfway through, things change, and you switch it from a front end or a back end or whatever. Those things tend to happen, but you're going to want to make sure like there's some way to fulfill the promise of that big idea. Otherwise, you're just you're going to have a promotion that goes nowhere. Because really, if you remember the definition at the beginning, the purpose of the big idea is to sell a product. It's not it's not an article or anything like that. It's to create a sale or something.
And I'm going to answer this in a slightly confusing way. So let me answer it, and then if we need to take time in later sessions to clarify. Normally, the fulfillment of that idea will define if it needs to be a front end or a back end. So let me explain what I mean by that a little bit. Certain ideas are more complicated to fulfill. The more complicated the idea is, the more it goes to the back end. Because you don't want to, I don't believe it would be the most ethical of things to do, to take someone who doesn't know who we are who's never heard of us, who they're seeing our advertisement on Facebook for the first time, and dumping them into the fulfillment of an insanely complicated investing strategy. Because they're gonna get in there and be like, I don't even know what this is, right? So you save the complicated stuff for the back end. So because they already trust us, they're much higher price points, which means it's gonna weed out people that shouldn't be in these things. Part of us having very high price points on the back end, these $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 services, isn't just for us to make money, it's also to qualify the reader. If you can't pay $3,000 for the service, you probably shouldn't be using this complicated investment strategy. So in the creation of the idea, like Ryan said, the product comes in there somewhere. So within that product, it's the fulfillment of that thing. If the fulfillment is a very complicated way to do things, it's going to be on the back end, and you're going to have to find a back end there. Sometimes, like Ryan's saying, you could switch between back end and front end. It's kind of rare that that happens because you're switching total fulfillment at that side. I personally like to know the product as early as possible in the idea creation, because that's going to steer how I'm going to write the copy, how I'm going to express the idea, if I'm going to leverage the relationship from the front end to the back end. Well, it's going to be confusing. I'll cover it way later.
Okay, so your assignment before next session. This is where the rubber meets the road. I'm giving you 3 different research documents that you can look at. I want you to get with your copy buddy and study this research, and then pick whatever one that you think you can come up with a big idea for that. Okay? So,
So Ryan's giving you all the research, just an exercise. He's giving you all the research on what we would consider to be semi-ordinary ideas.
along with some of the background information, and I would say that you definitely can do your own research.